right, ladies and gentlemen, Season 10 buffs and nerfs have already been announced, so there is a lot to talk about, as this is hopefully going to be one of the bigger seasons of COD Mobile as far as content goes. Usually, there's going to be some impactful buffs and nerfs that we will be finding out about today, so hope you guys do enjoy. If you do, drop a like down below, subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to go ahead and start talking about things. Shout out to Pebbles. I'm going to go ahead and react to his post because he was actually the first person to post everything as it was announced and made all the translations from the Chinese server. So, first one is going to be a controversial one because I know there are a lot of people who would claim that the PDW is the best SMG in COD Mobile. I disagree. I do think the PDW is very solid. It is getting a nerf next season. The only nerf that's happening to it is reverting the recoil back to the older version. I'm assuming that means the Season 8 version, and to be honest, I didn't feel like the buff to the recoil was super significant, so a lot of people are complaining about this. I don't think it's really going to matter all that much. It's still going to have its strong long-range consistency whenever it comes to bullet spread accuracy, decent time to kill, whatever. So I think the PDW is still going to be a solid option. If you had it inside the top 10 guns, I don't think this really impacts its position at all. I'm still trying to decide if I think it's top 10. I think there's a lot of conversation happening around that, but the PDW nerf is going to be the first one. Next one, we have a striker buff. Increased damage range by, 1 meter, 1 meter, 2 meters. I don't see that being impactful. Striker is not remotely close to being a top 10 gun. It would have needed a huge buff in order to realistically be anywhere close to that, so that's not something that I'm going to be thinking all that much about. Not going to bother talking about that too much. Similarly, for the RUS, we got 1 meter, 2 meters, 0 meters for the buff, so that's not something that I see changing a whole lot. RUS, not very close to the top 10, so it's not something that I think is going to be super impactful. A couple buffs for both the PPSH and the MSMC for horizontal recoil, both guns that I would say probably need that. It's really going to depend how much horizontal recoil, and usually whenever we get a buff like that, it's not one that's like game-changing for the weapon. So it's not something I anticipate is going to change anything in regards to the meta. But once again, if you're a fan of the MSMC or the PPSH, then could be a little bit more viable. We got a buff to the Odin on the way. So ADS speed from 280 down to 260. I will say the Odin felt solid last time I used it, and I think as far as bullet impact goes, it was one of the weapons that had the highest bullet impact stat. So the Odin could be a little more viable. That being said, its 2-tap consistency is just not really where it needs to be for it to be a meta weapon, so not something I anticipate is going to be a huge game changer. Interesting change for the BK-57. First damage range gets increased by 3 meters, but the second one gets decreased by 2. I think you could have increased the first one by 3 and it not really been anywhere remotely close to broken, or anywhere close to meta, let alone broken. I mean, it's a solid weapon, but time to kill can't compete with any of the other guns. So that's not something I see being a huge game changer. Nothing much to worry about if you ask me. Keeping it moving. It seems like COD Mobile really wants for the 3-shot weapons to be meta because they keep buffing the DRH, they keep buffing the ASM-10. And overall, I think this is going to be solid changes because this is a lot of buffs. I'm not sure it's going to be enough to make it meta, but it definitely is going to move it closer to at least being top 10. You get 4 extra meters on the first damage range, which is pretty sizable as a weapon that can 3-tap anywhere on the body in the first damage range. Also get a buff to the reload speed, which is going to feel nice. Reduction to sprint to fire, which I think was one of the bigger downsides to the ASM-10. And also a tiny buff to the movement speed, a 0.05 meters per second. That's not going to be something that realistically you feel very much, but ASM becomes a more viable close range or even mid-range option. I think especially given the fact that you have the potential to add on a monolithic suppressor for 25%, and I think that the marksman barrel on the ASM-10 gives 35% as well, so if you wanted to go max range stack, then the ASM-10 might actually be a viable option. I'm pulling up the gunsmith. 33% damage range for the marksman barrel if you want to run it. So ASM, I think that's probably going to be one of the more impactful buffs that we have. Reducing the screen shake on the FR556 again. This is a buff that we've already seen before. Obviously wasn't enough if they felt the need to do it again, but FR, solid option. Really, the screen shake was one of the only big downsides to it in the past, so that's definitely a W. Apparently I missed the CX-9 buff, so this is a buff that I anticipated was going to happen. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, I can't believe they're making the CX-9 meta. It was already good. CX-9 was not good. CX-9 at range was absolutely atrocious, horrendous range, and up close was pretty much just comparable to the Fennec, so there was no reason to ever really use it over the Fennec. These buffs are pretty sizable, though. 210 meters per second added on to the bullet speed. That was definitely one of the bigger downsides before, is that it had really, really bad bullet speed. On top of that, damage at range was increased a little bit, so you don't hit for 11 anymore. That's nice. You hit for 12.5 instead of 12. So the 12.5, I guess, realistically turns it into, what is that, an 8-shot? Once again, 8-shot is not a time to kill that you have to worry about at all. It is still going to remain the fact that outside of 19 meters, this thing is a straight-up pea shooter. But it did get a sizable buff to its hip fire. That's actually a really big buff. Actually, now that I look at it, that is... Okay, the hip fire could actually be a game changer, because that's going to be ridiculously accurate up close. They added a 25 bullet speed attribute to the C38 and C38S barrels, and removed the movement speed penalties from the 30-round mag, and decreased the movement speed penalty from... Okay, well, now that I look at all of that... I didn't see that there was more on top of it. This is one of the big downsides, was the movement speed penalty for the 50 round. Now that I see all that, CX-9 may move into the top 10. That's one that's going to take some testing, because once again, that's so many balance changes that it's going to be difficult to eyeball. But that's definitely looking like it could be a top 10 gun with everything that they're changing to it. I'm very curious to see how that one is going to... Oh, and they increased the chest multiplier from 1.1 to 1... Oh, wait, I thought this said 1.5. It says 1.15. Okay. Okay, I was gonna be stressed if the chest multiplier was 1.5. That's not anything too ridiculously crazy. I mean, I don't know. I think that might move it into top 10. I think it needed a lot of buffs for it to be there. I think if they have buff the second damage range, like the distance of it, it probably would have solidified it 100%, but that's one that we'll have to do some testing. Reduce the aim shake on the M4 LMG, and they buffed the 30-round light mag ADS time from minus 10% to minus 30? So that's going to be basically an SMG if you run 30 round. I don't think it's going to make it top 10, but that's definitely going to make it a lot more fun to use. I would say that at the very least. We already saw that. All right, what? They're buffing the DRH again. Like I said, it seems like they want desperately for the DRH to be meta, because they can't stop buffing it. MP and BR, 2 extra meters on the first damage range, 3 extra meters on the third, and then the fourth stays the same. Reload speed faster, chest multiplier. That's a pretty sizable increase to chest multiplier. I'm curious what that's going to do for OTM mag 3-shot consistency. I don't think it's gonna. I honestly think it's gonna make it so that you can pretty consistently 3-tap in the second damage range too, which is gonna be kind of crazy if true. That's one that's gonna be interesting though. I'm definitely gonna have to try the DRH, because it's one that's like could be in the conversation for top 10. I don't think it was quite there yet, but that's one that could potentially launch it into a top 10 conversation at the bare minimum. Yeah, Striker, and I think the rest is just kind of comments on the different main attraction points. Yeah, I think those are probably the two biggest. ASM 10, I think, could potentially be one. And also mentioning no change to large cal. For those of you who didn't see, the Argus actually just got banned from the competitive rule set, along with every conversion mag, including the M67 AMAX and the AS Val, but no bans to the large cal ammo. So Leakers on Duty posted the full thing. That's going to show all the same things as what we saw right there. But let me know you guys' thoughts on the balance changes in the comments down below. That's going to be it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.